And today we're going to review the February 12th meeting, Milton City Council.
We're going to call this meeting to order. It's 5:45 according to what I can see on February 12th, 2019. And we're blessed to have Pastor Matt give our invocation.
Let's pray. Amen.
The flag of the United States of America. Next item on our agenda is approval of the agenda for additional items. Do we have any additional items from...
Okay, we have some agenda items, some minutes to be reviewed, and we're off to the good meeting. Now, let's have the first speaker.
Next item is invited speakers, and Carol Spice of King Middle School. Could you please join us at the podium?
And Carol Spice is here with the King Middle School academic team. So good job, Carol Spice. Good job, academic team. Good job, King Middle School.
We've come a long way in the last 3 years, and back in November, competing at Lewis Middle School in Valparaiso, we won a spot for the national championship in Chicago in May.
That's outstanding. That was wonderful. I'm so glad y'all came, shared your good news. Ms. Spice is our only invited speaker, but we do have persons to appear. Jerry Cooey.
Okay, Jerry, what you got for us?
Every opportunity I have to encourage organizations, elected and appointed folks, to be transparent and stay out in the open for the taxpayers that typically fund them, I do that. And I think it's important we go over a little bit of history. The previous attorney for the city of Milton, of course, Ms. Lindsay, recommended that really all nonprofits, but specifically Main Street Milton, follow the Sunshine Law. The second group of attorneys that came in suggested the same thing. We want this improvement to get even better than it is now for the benefit of the taxpayers, because it is their money. And I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooey, and appreciate your concerns very much. Just to respond to some of those concerns on behalf of the council, I'd like to let you know that Councilman Jordan has been approved to be the ex officio member.
Right. That's right. Councilman Jordan has been appointed to be on the board there with Main Street Milton as a representative of the Milton City Council. So we actually were there recently at the Main Street Milton building, and we got some video for you.
I'd like to ask any questions about our next meeting? No, general questions. We've been told to come down here to ask questions, so that's what we'd like to do. Is that going to be is there going to be an opportunity for that?
We don't have a public forum, so we don't have any.
So we don't get any questions answered. Okay.
What I would do, this office is open 5 days a week. It's fully staffed, so if you would direct any questions to Ed.
We would like to have a public forum to be able to ask those questions, so that it can be for everyone to know. So if we can get that figured out, it would be greatly appreciated, because we don't want to come down here and meet individually with anybody. We want this open to everyone to hear what our questions are and to hear what the answers are.
We'll take it under consideration for our next meeting.
Okay. Oh, I appreciate that.
Of the Main Street Board, which I hope will encourage everyone to appreciate that council is providing oversight with respect to the taxpayer dollars. And also, I just wanted to note, you mentioned when I was city attorney an opinion that I gave. I'd just like to clarify that my opinion was not generally that all nonprofits should abide by the sunshine, but that based on the facts as I understood them with respect to Main Street at that time, that I felt that that particular nonprofit, considering all the facts, should be subject. There was a dispute about that, and it's since been resolved.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next person on the list for me is Ms. Shari Sebastio. Welcome to the City of Milton.
Hey, Shari, what you got for us?
Good evening. I come again today because of the street paving. We talked about Georgetown paving. And like I said, I looked at the ones at Lake Shore and all in there, and those are nowhere near as bad as those roads on Applegate, Plymouth, Byron, and Dearborn.
And further, as it relates to the Byram Street area north of Magnolia, that area currently is having a CDBG, a Community Development Block Grant, evaluation conducted under contract to the city by an engineering group who are evaluating the needs and putting together a grant application to do sewer, water, street lighting, curb, gutter, streets, and other potential safety improvements to that part of the community.
Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that concern, and I hope you understand that there is a plan for them. Just wasn't in that same project. All right, the next person on our list is Mr. Bruton.
Al Bruton.
Hey, Mr. Bruton, what you got for us?
At the corner of Mary Street and West Walker Street, many years ago, a black school called J.B. Turner. I would like the historical board or the city to maybe look at mounting some kind of plaque or something right there at that corner, J.B. Turner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mr. Bruton. And we'll make sure this goes to the Historic Preservation
That is
Board for
correct.
consideration.
Yes. You'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bruton. Mr. City Attorney, your report, please.
Yes, Madam Mayor, at the City Executive Council or Executive Committee meeting, we were tasked to respond to 3 questions. The first question was, and I framed the issue as requested by the council, was whether and to what scope city clerk's duties may include gathering and record keeping of the CRA 1 funding expenditures, particularly as they relate to Main Street Milton. And after review of the relevant statutes, both Chapter 617 governing nonprofit questions and the clerk's duties as set forth in the code, and looking at relevant statutes that might possibly apply in those regards, I found very little in terms of the delineation of the city clerk's duties in this regard, nothing that pertains specifically to CRA funding, but they have not, as far as I can determined, established by ordinance, legal duties that pertain to CRA record keeping for the clerk. Second issue was whether City Council or other authoritative policies presently govern the Main Street Milton Board of Directors' conflict of interest in regards to grants and expenditures within the limits of the law. And the answer to that question is yes, they do. They have the required registration with the Department of Agriculture for their compliance with Chapter 496. We also look to Chapter 617 for nonprofits' conflicts of interest. And what we find is in both settings that 496 provides no affirmative conflicts policy. Chapter 617 does provide for conflicts policy, but the Main Street Milton bylaws, which we did review, are broader in scope. They encompass officers as well as directors, which is broader than the requirement under Chapter 617. And they are also more stringent.
So Main Street Milton's conflict of interest policies are more stringent and broader in scope than the laws that currently govern them at the moment. So their own policies are more comprehensive than that of the regulations that they are supposed to be following. So they've taken another step further than what the regulations say.
Okay. Stringency of its requirements, they well exceed the requirements of law as far as those governing conflicts. Lastly, the question was also asked whether or not
in regards to those grants, did they play by the rules?
And were conducted in accordance with those conflict policies. And after reviewing some illustrative, and I'm going to characterize them that way because we have not done a detailed factual investigation. I don't believe we were tasked to, determine all of the particulars of every decision that might be questioned. But we understood three basic situations to have occurred, one involving an officer, the others involving directors, and property owners in the district. And we found in each of those cases that the members involved had recused, and under the relevant standard, that recusal more than satisfies the requirements of 617, and therefore we found there to be no problem with those three illustrative cases. I don't know. I haven't been asked to look at any other specific instances or exemplary situations that we could give an opinion on, but as to those three that we were advised about, there appears to be no problem with those because of the recusal.
Councilwoman Holly?
Oh, I forgot. Sure.
Don't hurt your shoulder.
Thank you, Attorney Mead. I would like to address back on the first subject matter that you researched. On the City of Milton's website, is there any way that we can go to that right now, Randy?
So here, Councilwoman Holly is requesting that the Milton's CRA policies, which are found on the Milton website, City of Milton website, she's asking that those policies be displayed there in the council chambers on the big TV screen. So that's what they're trying to do, but it doesn't really work out. I was there in the meeting. It doesn't work out. They don't get a chance to put it on the screen. But luckily, she did print some of that out and was able to discuss that there in the meeting. She was able to read a portion of that there in the meeting. So
It states
let's take a look.
that the City of Milton is the trustees over the CRA monies and shall be responsible for receipt, custody, disbursement, accountability, management, investment, and proper application of all monies paid into or expended from the trust fund in accordance with the redevelopment agency authorization and with state and local laws. So with that being said, it would be to my understanding that the City of Milton is responsible, in fact, of every expense that is taken from the CRA dollars to be accounted for.
I think I hear your concerns, Councilwoman Holly, as asking whether City of Milton compliance with the interlocal based on.
Yes, and if you will read my letter, the question that was asked at the executive committee was focusing on Main Street Milton, which is CRA 1, not CRA 2 or 3. CRA 2 and 3 are later in evolution. CRA 1 is an older CRA, which, as many of the older versions of CRAs, are not in the same level of detail. Having said that, the letter does address that there are administrative taskings of the clerk that are certainly in existence. This would be one of them. This is an interlocal agreement. It's not an ordinance. And therefore, under those standards, clearly the clerk has those duties. But they are not legal duties. They are administrative duties, as I addressed in the letter. If you wish to make them legal duties, there needs to be an ordinance pursuant to the charter in order for that to be the case. I'm not disputing that those taskings have been given and that they should be ordinarily complied with, certainly. But my question, or the question directed to me, was what are the legal duties? And that was what we answered.
Yes, sir.
And in this regard, only with regard to CRA 1, not regard to CRA 2 and 3.
So we're saying that we're not giving Main Street Milton any CRA 2, 3 money?
We are giving Main Street Milton CRA 1 money. To the best of my knowledge, we are not giving Main Street Milton CRA 2 or 3 money because essentially CRA 2 and 3 money is non-existent. Then beyond that, as it relates to the use of the CRA proceeds, the city is following the direction that has been provided by council. And in keeping with the memorandum of understanding between the city and Main Street Milton, the clerk is following that direction. Once the funds are received by Main Street, they are subject to governance by that board of directors of a nonprofit organization over which we do not have legal oversight. they're separate and distinct. Then, as it relates to the annual audit, the CRA expenditures are a part of our audit on an annual basis. And that is what the auditors are evaluating, is whether or not we have followed the direction provided by council for the use of the CRA proceeds, and I believe that you would find that we have done just that. I would say that each and every expenditure that has been made by Main Street for the use of the funds provided by the City of Milton are tracked extensively and accounted for, if I'm not incorrect, to the penny, monthly.
Finance information for Main Street Milton is tracked to the penny, monthly, and if I'm not mistaken, this information is available to council and to the public for any of those who want to know.
And all of those are available for your review upon request, or anybody else's for that matter. I think if you look at that chain of custody of those proceeds, all of it can be examined in detail. All of it are available to anyone who would request. Our audit is conducted, including the CRAs, and I think that the clerk has met her responsibilities.
It was not really questioning the clerk's responsibilities. I was just wanting to make sure that we were following the letter of the law. So in your statement that you just said, Randy, I meant Mr. Jorgensen, you said that there are no CRA 2 or 3 monies. You said they were distinct.
Well, they are distinct and they are minimal. The funds from the 2 new CRAs, I believe CRA 2 has generated a nominal amount of revenue. If I recall correctly, it may be $7,000. The clerk could probably provide that information. And CRA 3, I don't think has seen any positive increase in value, so there would be no increment captured.
So is there another interlocal agreement for the CRA 1, since we have one for 2 and 3?
There is, as it relates to the reestablishment and extension of CRA 1. When that extension occurred, and if I recall correctly, that was approximately 2012.
Could we have a copy of that, because that's not on the website?
I'd be happy to provide that to council.
And I would also like to, we may need to discuss, because I continue to hear we can't do this or we can't do that because it's in the memorandum of agreement between the City of Milton and Main Street Milton. You know, we are sitting here as the gatekeepers for the taxpayers' money. And I feel it's very inappropriate to say that we can't take control over the taxpayers' money because of an agreement. If that's the deal, where they tell us what they're going to do with the monies, then maybe we need to look at that agreement again.
Councilor, let me touch on that. I have not been tasked to do an analysis of the memorandum of understanding or its legal consequences, so with all due caution, take this for what it is worth. The overall structure, however, and this comes to the point of some of the questions about sunshine.
Oh, he brought up some sunshine. Attorney Mead discusses here the sunshine laws and Main Street Milton and this memorandum of understanding. So there's a lot going on right now.
In order for things to change, the memorandum of understanding has to be changed to give that effect.
Yes, sir. We could sit down and give a 30-day notice that we're going to change that memorandum of agreement. Well, we not?
Mr. Jorgensen?
Yeah, my comment, Mayor, would be that the memorandum of understanding is revisited annually during the budget process.
I believe we've also already discussed the memorandum of understanding being reviewed to update it according to the legal opinion that was given recently about it being performance with the sunshine, and there may be other things too that could be discussed to improve the agreement's language so that the duties of each are understood. Is that true, Mr. Jorgensen? That
Here, Mayor Lindsay is encouraging staff to have discussions with Main Street Milton in order to update the Memorandum of Understanding so the rest of us can understand it a little better.
and
It
Mr.
is,
Spears
and
have
and
talked
I
about
think that, you know, we can task council with the responsibility of reviewing it at any time, although the memorandum clearly indicates that it is to be revisited on an annual basis during that budget process.
Councilman Powell, did you have a comment?
All right, folks, we've come to that time in the video. You're going to have an option. Either you can watch the next video and continue watching the remainder of the first half of this meeting, or you can watch the most recent board meeting of Main Street Milton. So the rest of this particular video, if you want to watch it, fine. And for some of you, I suggest that you do. Here they will discuss why they are questioning Main Street Milton's sunshine law policies like they are. Here you will find a discussion between public, council, and staff about sunshine laws and Main Street Milton and who and why and what and how and all of that.